Before we get on with the podcast, I'd like to mention that I now have 3 books for sale on Kindle. Recommended Reading for the True Conservative, Bad Democrat, and now Evil Liberal. All available for $3.99 or through Kindle Unlimited. Now, on with the podcast.
There's an ugly baby test. Did you know that? Yeah, this is how you take the test. Think back to when your baby was a baby. If you showed a picture of your baby to someone and they said, "Aww," and that's it. They didn't follow up with any words. They didn't string together one sentence. "She's so pretty, he's so cute." They just said, "Aww." You left them speechless. That was an ugly baby. If you showed a picture of your baby to someone and they gave you one of these, "Look at her." They didn't tell you what they thought. They told you what they were doing. They were looking at her. All of this is a distraction.
Good morning. It's Friday, Music Friday, July the 24th, and this is The True Conservative. Welcome to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there. I'm Ron, your host, and the only true conservative in the United States today. So today, after the Serenity Prayer and the patriotic song of the day, we will have Varney and Company, Evil Liberal, and music. All that and more when I get back. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I should not change, the courage to change the things I should, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. Thank you. Now, Varney and Company.
See you tonight on Romo's Wall Street. Now it's over to Stuart Varney.
All right. Good morning, Cheryl. For a 13th straight night, U.S. forces attacked military targets deep in Iran. The president told Axios that he was considering a massive attack. No final decision made on that yet. Iran has rejected a ceasefire that the U.S. has put forward, and there have been more attacks by Iran on its Gulf neighbors. Separately, new polling shows voters turning negative on the war. The longer it lasts, the more unpopular it becomes. The price of oil holding right around $90 a barrel. You're at $89.21 right now. The price of gasoline, the average for regular is now $4.10 a gallon. There you have it. Diesel, that's the interesting energy source these days. It keeps going up. That is inflationary. $4 per gallon for diesel. Stocks a little changed after Thursday's big sell-off. The Dow up maybe 100 points at the open. S&P up a fraction. The Nasdaq, those down 35. That's no bounce there for the Nasdaq. That exchange is home to the so-called Mag 7 tech stocks. They dropped $797 billion in value yesterday alone. Rates, not much change. The yield on the 10-year Treasury is below 4.7%. The 2-year Treasury well above 4.25%. Bitcoin, 64,006 as we speak. And on the show today, the president says China's leader Xi Jinping will visit the United States on September 24th. That's only about a month away. The two leaders will be discussing a pressing issue: AI. An Asian man and a Jewish man were stabbed on the streets of New York Thursday. The suspect reportedly shouted, Allahu Akbar, God is the greatest. Mayor Mandani put out a statement calling it a despicable act which has no place in our city. My suggestion? Quit talking about Israeli genocide. This city is on edge. Language like that encourages violence. My opinion. Friday, July 24th, 2026.
And that was Stuart Varney. He was wrong again, as he always is, when he's talking about that poll. He said that the poll says that voters, the longer the war goes on, the more voters are dissatisfied, and that a majority of voters are now dissatisfied with the war. Words to that effect. And he's wrong. A poll only represents the people that were polled, probably 2,000 people. So what he should have said was, of those polled, a majority don't like the war. That's what's accurate. Back in a minute. Oh, nonprofit news now. Now back in a minute. Thank you. If they see that we sometimes let things go, but other times we push back, they will continue to exploit that ambiguity. Our response must be clear and unwavering at all times. Being consistent means not giving in to emotional manipulation, even when it seems like the easy route. Liberals are skilled at eliciting sympathy or guilt in others. They may throw temper tantrums, create drama, or play the victim to try and get us to back down from our stance. If we yield to these tactics once, they will quickly learn that they can use these emotional appeals to break our resolve. Consistency in our response, therefore, means remaining firm no matter how emotionally charged the situation becomes. This doesn't mean being cold or unfeeling, but it does mean prioritizing our boundaries and our mental well-being over the liberals' emotional outbursts. Another critical component of consistency is being clear in our expectations. Liberals often test boundaries because those boundaries are unclear or ambiguous, and they know that ambiguity gives them room to maneuver. If we've set a boundary that we will not tolerate certain behavior, it's essential to reinforce the boundary each time the behavior occurs. If we say no to disrespect and then allow them to disrespect us, it sends the message that our words mean nothing. Liberals thrive on this inconsistency because they can exploit it. If we establish our boundaries and stay firm in enforcing them, we make it clear that we will not accept anything less than respect. Consistency also involves being predictable in our responses. Liberals are constantly assessing how they can manipulate us, and if our reactions are unpredictable, they will continue to test the limits. However, when they know exactly how we will respond to certain behaviors, they become less likely to engage in manipulative tactics. For example, if a liberal tries to belittle us and we consistently respond by doubting them, they will quickly learn that this behavior will not get the reaction they want. The more consistent we are in our reactions, the weaker the liberals become. They begin to understand that we're not an easy target for their emotional games. This consistency should extend beyond simply enforcing boundaries to include our actions as well. Liberals often seek to control or manipulate the conservatives around them by fostering confusion or emotional instability. If we act one way one day and another way the next, they will use that inconsistency to confuse us and exploit our vulnerability. In order to break this cycle, we must be consistent in our behavior. This means maintaining our sense of self and staying true to values. Liberals prey on conservatives who are unsure of who they are or who bend in the face of pressure. By remaining steadfast in our actions, we deny them the opportunity to manipulate us. Consistency also involves managing our own emotions. Liberals can be highly provocative, often pushing buttons to see if they can make us react in a way that suits their agenda. If they see that we are easily angered, upset, or hurt, they will exploit these emotional triggers to get us to react. The more consistent we are in managing our emotions, the less power they have over us. Liberals are highly sensitive to emotional issues, and they often use our reactions against us. By maintaining control over our emotions, we not only protect ourselves, but also send the message that we're not easily manipulated. Consistency doesn't mean being rigid or inflexible. It's important to remember that some situations may require different responses, but the underlying principle should remain the same. We are always acting in everyone's best interest, upholding our boundaries and protecting everyone's well-being. If a liberal sees that we're predictable in our stance and responses, they will understand that there are limits they cannot cross. This creates a sense of stability that denies the liberals the ability to continue controlling or manipulating us. One of the greatest advantages of consistency is that it weakens the liberals' power over us. Liberals rely on destabilizing conservatives, making us doubt our own perceptions and creating chaos. But when we are consistent in our actions, thoughts, and responses, we make it much harder for the liberals to throw us off course. They may continue to try their manipulative tactics, but they will find that we're no longer an easy target. This consistency ultimately forces the liberals to either adapt or lose their ability to control the situation. When they see that their usual methods are no longer effective, they may back off, realizing that they can no longer dominate us in the way they once did. The importance of dubiousness cannot be overstated when dealing with a liberal. Liberals are often emotionally manipulative, relying on tactics that invoke guilt, fear, and confusion to maintain control over others. They thrive on creating emotional dependency, convincing conservatives that they, the liberals, are the center of attention and that everything should revolve around their needs and desires. In this context, dubiousness is not only a defense mechanism, but also an essential tool in protecting ourselves from their manipulations. By doubting, we stop giving the liberal the power to dictate our emotional state or control how we feel. Doubt is about creating a barrier between ourselves and the liberals' emotional upheavals. Liberals often generate drama. They like throwing tantrums, making unreasonable demands, and engaging in passive-aggressive behavior to provoke reactions from conservatives. They use our emotions to draw us into their games, and if they succeed, they can manipulate us into doing what they want. When we cast doubt, we stop reacting to their provocations. We no longer allow their emotional outbursts or attempts to make us feel guilty to stop us. This doubt allows us to stay calm and centered regardless of the chaos they try to create around us. One of the key aspects of dubiousness is learning not to take their behavior personally. Liberals are often cruel, dismissive, and even abusive, but this is a reflection of their own insecurity and need for control, not a reflection of our worth. When we take their behavior personally, we give them the power to make us feel bad about ourselves, to create doubt in our mind, and to erode our confidence. By doubting them, we recognize that their behavior is about them, not us. It becomes easier to view their actions objectively rather than internalizing them and allowing them to affect our self-esteem. Dubiousness also involves recognizing the difference between empathy and emotional involvement. Liberals often exploit our empathy, making us feel responsible for their emotional well-being or their happiness. They may guilt trip us by accusing us of being selfish if we don't cater to their demands or make them the center of attention. Dubiousness without becoming emotionally invested in their needs allows us to acknowledge their attitudes without being swept away by them. We can offer compassion, but we don't have to sacrifice our own emotional health to cater to their whims. To doubt them, it's important to anticipate. Liberals will try to break down our boundaries through emotional manipulation. They might push us to feel guilty for setting limits, or they may act as though they are the victims when we refuse to give in to their demands. Dubiousness helps us stay firm in our boundaries without feeling the need to justify ourselves or explaining our actions. We recognize that our needs are just as important as theirs. Back in a minute. Thank you. This is Ron, your host, the only true conservative in the United States today, bidding adios to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there, and reminding you that you're not neutral and that the government has no rights.